Today I'll cover the show Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. After being hit by a truck and dying, homeless and jobless Japanese man reincarnates into a fantasy-like world as Rudius, son of the swordsman Paul Greerat and his wife, a healer Zenith. Keeping his memories of his previous life, Rudius quickly learns to read and eventually starts practicing magic. Noticing his aptitude, Rudy's parents hire the adventurer Roxy McCurdy as his magic teacher. Roxy has some doubts at first about tutoring him due to his tender age until she witnesses his unique ability to cast magic instantly and realizes his potential. As the great family gives Roxy a welcome party, Rudius vows to work hard to improve himself and make proper use of the second chance he was given to have a happy and fulfilling life. Rudius reminisces about his past life when he was expelled from home and was hit by the truck that killed him while attempting to save some teenagers. He spends the next months training magic with Roxy until the day of his 5-year-old birthday party, when Roxy declares that she has nothing more to teach him and will hold his graduation exam. The next day, Rudius leaves his home for the first time, accompanied by Roxy. He gets distressed over his past trauma, when he was severely bullied by his classmates in school that led to him becoming a recluse, but he ends up overcoming it once he realizes how Roxy has blended well with the villagers, despite all the prejudice she usually suffers due to her demon origin. In the exam, Rudius manages to summon a massive thunderstorm and Roxy declares that he passed. Roxy then departs to continue her journey and Rudius thanks her for everything she has done for him. After losing his fear of leaving his home. Thanks to Roxy, Rudius starts playing outdoors by himself until he rescues a half-elf child, who he assumes is a boy named Sylph from a group of bullies. Sylph becomes friends with Rudius and starts learning magic from him, and it is revealed Sylph is capable of casting magic without incantations as well. 6 months later, Rudius brings Sylph home during a storm and takes away silver clothes so that they can take a bath together. However, he discovers that Sylph is a girl and her full name is Sophia. Despite Rudius' apology to Sophia, she starts avoiding him, much to his chagrin. Sometime later, Sophia approaches Rudius and the two make up, with Rudius determined to cherish the first true friend he has made in his new life. The great family is overjoyed upon learning that Zenith is pregnant again, but their happiness is cut short when their maid Lily reveals that she is also pregnant after having an affair with Paul. To protect Lily from Zenith's wrath, Rudius convinces his mother to forgive her by having Paul take all the blame for the incident, despite realizing that she was the one who seduced him, which earns him Lily's gratitude and loyalty. Zenith and Lily give birth to 2 girls named Norman and Asia respectively, and Rudius considers leaving to study at the Renoa Magic Academy after receiving a letter from Roxy encouraging him to. But Sophia does not want him to leave her side, and he decides to look for a job to pay for her tuition as well. Sometime later, his parents decide to entrust Rudius to a friend of theirs. The Beast Woman gives Lane to Dolia, who leaves the village with him. As Ghislaine and Rudius leave the village, he reads a letter from Paul explaining that he found a tutoring job for him to pay for his and Sophia at studies. However, Paul forbids him from returning home or meeting Sophia for the next 5 years. In the city of Roa, Rudius meets his employer, Philip Boria's Grey Rat, who is also the mayor and his father's cousin and is tasked to teach Philip's daughter Eris. However, once Rudius is introduced to Eris, she acts hostile towards him, certain that Eris will not listen to him at all. Rudius comes with a plan to gain her trust by faking their kidnapping. With her father's consent, Rudius and Eris are captured, and after convincing her to cooperate, he uses his magic to escape with her. Back in ROA, Rudius discovers that one of Philip's servants is working with their captors and they took advantage of his plan to stage a real kidnapping. Rudius fights the kidnappers to protect Eris until Ghislaine comes to their rescue, killing the criminals and arresting the servant. Once they return home, Eris accepts Rudius as her tutor and he begins living in her house. Philip thanks Rudius for protecting Eris and warns him to not reveal to anyone his connections with the Greer family or he may be targeted again, while Ghislaine begins teaching swordsmanship to Eris and Rudius. Rudius teaches magic literacy and math to both. However, Eris usually skips classes out of boredom, and Rudius decides to give her one day off per week to encourage her. While taking a stroll in the city, Eris attempts to buy Rudius an expensive book, but he refuses, claiming that she cannot give presents to others without her own money, and suggests her father to give her an allowance. With her allowance, Eris presents Rudius with a veil he was previously interested in, which puts him in a pinch as he is in fear of revealing to her and guzzling that it is in fact an aphrodisiac. With the approaching date of Eris's 10th birthday party, Rudius allows her dance teacher to take over part of his tutoring schedule to have her improve, while he makes use of his newfound free time to learn other languages. Despite that, Eris barely improves her dancing and considers giving up, but Rudius encourages her to continue and starts helping with her lessons. As Rudius makes some progress on his foreign language skills with Gilbane and Roxy's help, Eris does not improve at all, and on the day of the party, she fails to dance with another noble. Rudius steps in and successfully dances with Eris after instructing her to incorporate some of her fighting skills in her moves. After the party, Rudius meets Eric's grandfather Soros, who sees a strange ball of light in the sky and fear as it could be an ominous sign. 2 years later, Eris and her family hold a birthday party for Rudius, who was disappointed at first that his own family could not attend due to the increase of monster activity around the country. Rudius is presented with a top-quality magic staff, and Philip expresses his will to have Rudius marry Eris and become his successor, but Rudius rejects the offer. Later that night, Rudy is just surprised to see Eris waiting in his room. He then attempts to, but she pushes him away. Realizing his mistake, Rudius apologizes to Eris, who forgives him. A few days later, a huge cloud of mono forms in the sky, and the legendary hero Perugius Dola sends his 8 Airman Fee to investigate. Suspicious that Rudius was practicing with his new staff alongside Eris and Ghislaine, could be involved with the cloud's appearance error. Menefee attacks him, but Ghislaine defends Rudius and confirms his innocence when a massive burst of light envelopes them. Inside his dreams and looking like his past self, Rudius has a sure encounter with an elusive being known as the Human God, who instructs him to rely on and help the man who saved him. He then awakens in his current body and learns that he and Eris are stranded in the middle of the demon continent and were rescued by Rudyard Superdaya, a member of the dreaded superb race, who becomes their friend and promises to escort them home. Rudyard brings Rudius and Eris to the nearby Nigeria village, which is Roxy's birthplace. During their stay, Rudius learns from Rudyard that his tribe's ill repute comes from the cursed spears and received from the demon god Laplace, which turned them into mindless murderers, and that the spear in his possession belonged to his son, whose death by his hands made and recover his senses. Moved by Rudyard's determination to clear his race's name, Rudius decides to help him, and the trio departs from the village to begin their journey across the demon continent. Rudius, Eris and Rudyard arrived at the city of Carissa. Rudyard entered the city without trouble. Rudius dyes his hair and has him pretend to be a member of the Magaria tribe. The three become an official group of adventurers called Dead End, but their novice status prevent them from taking quests that pay well enough for them to make ends meet. By the human god's suggestion, Rudius accepts a quest to look for a lost pet, which leads them to another group of adventurers who kidnap pets to get the bounty for finding them. After the kidnappers are defeated, Rudius attempts to interrogate them, but is hit by one of them, which leads Rudyard to kill him instantly. Rudius reprimands Rudyard for it and forbids him from killing again, taking advantage of the kidnappers. Higher rank Rudius coerces them into taking higher ranking jobs for their own party while helping improve their reputation. After the Mona surge in Fatula, all of Paul's family members are missing except for Norn, and he asks for his contacts to make search parties to find them. Meanwhile, to accomplish a quest, Rudius' party look for a mysterious monster in the middle of the forest. They encounter 2 other parties also searching for the monster. One of the parties is ambushed by monsters, but Rudius decides to wait, which ends with one of the adventurers being killed. The monster they are looking for attacks and kills the other party before it is slain by Rudius and company. Back in March, Carissa Rudius is approached by another adventurer who discovers his scheme to take higher-ranked quests and attempts to blackmail him. Moved by Rubius' resolve to protect Arias, Ruger drops his disguise, revealing himself as a super, and threatens to kill the adventurer. Shahi reveals their secret. After leaving the city, Rudius reconciles with Rugard. Rudius keeps traveling with Eris and Rugard all the way to a coastal city on the edge of the demon continent, unaware that Roxy is also arriving at the continent to look for him, accompanied by two of Paul's former companions. Rudius and his party finally arrive at a coastal city with a port, while Roxy and her party arrive at the same time by boat, but both parties fail to encounter each other. Unfortunately, Rudius and Eris learn that due to Ruger being a superb as both feet to travel, the ocean is too high for them to pay. While looking for a solution, Rudius is once again contacted by a human god who instructs him to buy some food in a specific place, where he stumbles on a hungry vagrant and feeds her. The vapor reveals herself as the reincarnated demon emperor Kishka Kishkarizu, who rewards him with a demon eye that allows him to see a few seconds in the future, and Rudius uses this power to save a man from harm. After getting used to his new ability, Rubius decides to sell this staff to get enough money for Rudyard's ticket, but Rudyard himself dissuades him from doing so, pointing out it will hurt Eris' feelings, and the man who Rudy has saved arrives and introduces himself as Gallus Cleaner. That was